Hello and welcome back to another edition of Teacher Talks second grade. And listen, I have a whole new book series we're going to dive into. And guess what? I didn't choose it. You did. So hopefully you saw the poll that I put out there, the survey that I put out there on YouTube. And you, the viewers, got to vote. And this is the book series that was voted on to dive into next. And that's just what I'm going to do. So today I'll do a review of the whole book series. I'll tell you all of the evidence I've collected, everything I have learned about this awesome author, Lincoln Pierce. Boy, this is a great book series. This is a book series I've had in my classroom in second grade. However, I've never really taken the time to dive into it. I have so many books. And to be quite frank with you, I've only read part of one of these up until recently. And now I have been diving in and reading a bunch. And boy, this is another awesome, amazing, fun, engaging book. I'll dive into it. I'll give you some advice on leveling. I'll give you some kind of unusual advice on leveling as well. I leveled this with two different systems. So I'm going to explain to you, while these books say that they are at level S, which is at a higher level, there's also a secondary system saying they're a little lower. I'll do a nice little summary of who is this guy, Nate Wright. And we'll talk about him a little bit and why this book series might be fun for you. So, all right, no further ado, let's dive right in. So first of all, who is Lincoln Pierce? So, and by the way, I am going to tell you what I've collected in my evidence. If I get some of this wrong, put it in the comments. Tell me what I got wrong in a nice way, please. Thank you. But Lincoln Pierce, in the early 1990s, I believe, started doing a cartoon strip, a comic strip that was in the local newspapers and local to where he lives. And that comic strip quickly started building popularity, and it started being in a lot of newspapers. And of course, if you're a kid these days, you don't realize that the newspaper was the number one way that people used to get their knowledge on the news. Today, the newspapers have kind of lost their steam and we've turned to digital. However, these comic strips are very popular still. And now we have different ways of getting these comics into our hands. So let's talk about that a little bit. This book series is a huge book series, and at first I was kind of confused because some of the books look a little bit different, just even with their writing and how they're written. So I was trying to figure out exactly what is going on here. Why do some of them look a little different? Some of the books were numbered, although this one I'm holding up is not numbered here, and some of the books are in black and white pictures. Others have, and here's some more black and white, and then others have color pictures, which, wow, I really like the color. So I'll talk about that a little bit as well. So here is what I have gained in my evidence so far. So Lincoln Pierce had this very popular comic strip that was running in the newspapers, coming out daily in black and white, Sundays or the weekends, I'm not sure. I think it was just Sundays, in color. And basically what these books are, a lot of these books are just a collection of those comic strips. So they got all those comic strips, they sort of glued them together, kind of like Calvin and Hobbes, if you remember me doing that book review. So a lot of these books are simply short comics. So if you read them, they'll read and it'll be like a page or two that's sort of one comic. And then when you turn the page, it still will relate to the main theme that Pierce was talking about, but it will change a little bit, and then after a few more pages, it will kind of change direction entirely. And that kind of makes sense, right? When you would read a comic in a newspaper, it wouldn't be an ongoing story like a novel or like an ongoing story or a chapter book. It would just be short little bursts of, well, humor. And that's what most of these books are. Now, I assume that this has gotten so popular that Lincoln Pierce has decided to turn some of these comic strip ideas into full books. And that's like this guy here. My understanding is that Big Nate in a Class by Himself is the first of several books that are in a book series that are reading as a chapter book. So this is going to be like one big long story. And it's written as sort of a half chapter book and half graphic novel, I'm going to call it. So let's take a look. And you can see here, so there is some paragraphing, as you can see, and then also some comics that are added in. And it really reads nice. It's a very well, I was going to say a quick read. I guess that depends kind of on your level and where that lands you. But it's fun, it's engaging, it's a lot of text on the page, but it's not too overwhelming. So it's really nice to have those comics and pictures kind of split it up. And as you can see there, chapter 4. So it does, again, read like a chapter book, and it's going to be one story long. I believe there are 8 of these, and I believe this is the first book. So this book here is the only one of these that is in this chapter book style, where it's one story from beginning to end. All of the rest of these are simply collections of Lincoln Pierce's comic book or comics that are sort of cut and pasted together into making these books. So what's good and bad about that? Well, I like the idea of having this chapter book and kind of staying on one theme and reading the way through it, but also it's kind of nice to have both. So these are those comic strips, and you can see here too, in full color, plus a pull-out poster. I'll talk about that too, pretty cool. But here's what's kind of nice is that you can read it, and it's just like some funny little short inserts. And again, they'll kind of stick on the same theme for a certain amount of pages, and then he'll sort of change directions and then start in a new direction, whether it's, you know, kind of playing with dad, or maybe it's a outdoors in the snow theme, or whatever it might be. But very, very cool, very fun, very engaging. And you can kind of see here in full color with pull-out poster. So this one has that. This is the latest Goes Bananas, Big Nate Goes Bananas. I believe this is the latest book that Lincoln Pierce has put out. And again, you get that poster, and hey, that's the poster right there. And it's cool. It's really fun. So these books, by the way, I just bought them recently. I bought them on Amazon, and they just came in. These ones are actually not going to go in my classroom. I have a third grade son, who absolutely has fallen in love with Big Nate, and we have been kind of diving in together into these. So he is pumped. He's like ready to decorate his whole room in all of these book series that are coming in, all these book posters that are coming in. So full color with pull-out poster, full color with pull-out poster, full color with pull-out poster. Now this guy here, this Greatest Hits, it's big, it's a much thicker book, it's in black and white, and it does not have the pull-out poster, but it looks like it's very, very cool and very fun. And again, so with this collection right here, my son's gonna have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posters to decorate his room. So very, very cool. All right, let's talk about what kind of books as far as being a soft cover or a hardcover. And I went with, normally I'd like to get those hardcover books, especially if I'm gonna put them in my classroom. Again, these are gonna be for my son to read, and something tells me that he is not going to be donating these to my classroom. I can already tell by how much he absolutely loves and cherishes them that these are probably gonna go in his personal library in his room. So I went ahead and just got the paperback, and the paperback books, they're surprisingly affordable if you're a parent out there. They're surprisingly affordable for what they are. They are big, beautiful books, well written, well put together. Again, that color makes it so fun and so nice. It really brings it to that next level. All right, so let's talk about kind of a summary of who is this Big Nate guy. And it says right here that his name is Nate Wright. So here's kind of a summary I found online, and I printed it out so we could read it together here. Summary. Aspiring cartoonist Nate Wright is the star of the Big Nate series. Nate is 11 years old, 4.5 feet tall, and the all-time record holder for detentions in school history. He's a self-described genius and 6th grade Renaissance man. Nate, who lives with his dad and older sister, has a habit of annoying his family, friends, and teachers with his sarcasm. Very cool. So this is, you know, it's a get ready to laugh kind of book series as you follow these adventures of Nate. For the students in my classroom, they've been begging me for more and more of these sort of graphic novel, right? Graphic novel is kind of in the same idea of the comic strips. The graphic novels are going to be a little bit more in that story, right? A little bit more in that story style. But if you follow this channel, you'll know that Dogman is a huge, huge hit. Well, Dogman is a great hit, and there's another book coming out here in about a month. However, the problem with Dogman is I've got half my class that's already read every single book 3 times, and so I'm telling them it's time to move on to something else. And this Big Nate is a fantastic one to move on to. So if you know that Dogman book series and you're a fan of those, and basically this is kind of the same as that Diary of a Wimpy Kid, maybe Captain Underpants. It's kind of in that same sort of fun, funny, silly humor. A boy that's not making excellent choices, and you better make, better choices for your teachers and parents. And then Dogman, of course, kind of silly, right? Half dog, half police officer. And it's that funny, silly kind of stuff. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about levels here. So you can see I've leveled some of these. S, R, S, S. So something tells me they're all going to kind of fall into those categories. And like I said, I just got these books, so some of them I haven't even leveled yet. But the levels are very interesting on these. What I use is the guided reading level, GRL, and with the GRL guided reading level, that would put these books at an end of 3rd grade, beginning of 4th grade book level. However, if we look at some of these books in a different light, a different grading system, the Lexile system, if you students are using the Lexile system out there, an interesting thing happens. Normally, the two different systems of grading the book levels match up pretty darn close. For some reason, this book series puts the guided reading level higher, end of 3rd, beginning 4th, but puts the Lexile at 340, which puts this book at basically a 2nd grade level. And it does that for most of these books. Now, this one jumps up to 500, but for most of these books, it puts them at that in the 300s, 400s. And again, that's 2nd grade and 500, kind of working our way into 3rd grade. So very, very cool as far as it's a readable book for 2nd graders, 3rd graders, 4th graders, even going into like 5th grade and so on. It's just one of those books that you want to read over and over again. And it's a book that, again, if you're a 2nd grader and you are a pretty strong reader, this is probably a pretty good fit for you. If you can read Dogman, this might be a good book series right after Dogman. All right, friends, so listen, hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe now. I'm going to start a playlist of Big Nates. Now, this is the first video that I'm making, so I haven't started the playlist yet. But what happens is when you press subscribe, then you can go into my channel. You can see all of the different videos I've made, and I've made so many now, over 100, that I have them in little categories, which we call playlists. So you can go to the one that says Dogman, and you'll see all my Dogman videos. And soon you'll be able to go into the Big Nate playlist, and I'll have all these Big Nates. And what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna dive in and start doing individual book reviews on these books. So let's start taking a few away, and I'll show you which ones were the most popular on my channel when you guys voted. And that is going to be these two guys here. So again, if you're wondering what I'm talking about as far as voting, I just learned on YouTube how to send out a poll, which is like a survey, and you can vote for the next book series. Like this one right here was with Owl Diaries and another book series, and everyone seemed to be voting, or a lot of people, the majority voted for Big Nate. So I also put one out saying which one of the Big Nates, and this is what we're gonna start with right here. So I'm gonna do one of the kind of chapter style of the Big Nates, right? So we'll start with this guy right here. So I believe this is, again, the first of the chapter book series. And then we will also dive into Big Nate Goes Bananas. And so we go from the first of the book series, chapter book series, to the last or most recent of the comic collections is what I'll call them. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, hit subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, especially if you like seeing these kinds of videos. Vote with that thumbs up and let me know that you like these videos. All right, friends, we will see you next time.